but you're going nowhere. Don't blame me for what you've done, because I know that you were having fun.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast, exposing the real estate secrets your agent doesn't want you to know. Here's your host, Tom Clary.
Well, don't you just walk away. That's when I'll say.
Welcome to Clarified Realty Podcast. I'm Tom Clary and I'm your host. I'm a real estate agent here in the beautiful state of California, Los Angeles to be exact. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Ron Bruno. Mr. Bruno, how are we today, sir?
Seems like I saw you only yesterday.
It seems like it's now we're not, we're kind of giving away a secret here, folks. That's a look behind the scenes. Yes, we did record a podcast yesterday. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear it another day. That was with J.R. Mariano from Jamie's
Kitchen and Bath.
Kitchen and Bath. That's going to be coming up in a future podcast. But if you guys don't need to hear that. So, but thanks, Bruno, for just kind of taking away any kind of mystery here.
Anytime.
So anyway, so you had your Valentine's Day yesterday, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. We went to we did the Ruth's Chris.
We did Ruth's Chris.
It was nice.
And by the way, it's not Ruth Chris's. It's Ruth's Chris.
Ruth's Chris.
Say that 3 times fast.
So the possessive is Ruth's, right?
As in the Chris belongs to Ruth.
That's right.
That makes absolutely no sense.
None. It's something with they're actually out of New Orleans.
Out of New Orleans.
Yeah, you wouldn't think a steak place is out of New Orleans, but that's where they originated.
Right. Yeah. Sure, gumbo maybe, but not a big old steak.
Not a big old steak, but we had a big old steak.
Did you have a big old steak?
We had a porterhouse for 2.
Oh yeah,
which is half.
Ooh, tell me more.
New York strip, and then the other half
sexy.
is a fillet.
Oh, very good.
And then we had the lobster mac.
The lobster mac, because mac and cheese isn't decadent enough. We need to throw
a little piece of
lobster into it.
Yes, sir. So we had that, and then we had some salad, and then a baked potato. Yeah,
yum.
Loaded baked potato.
Now I don't know if you saw my social media post.
Yeah,
I did
on
the
Valentine's?
ultimate. I did the ultimate in Valentine's Day. I took her to a hot dog shop. It was just we went and got hot dogs.
I mean, if you're from Chicago, that's normal, right?
Yes,
that place probably would be packed.
Wow, he's a real Romeo.
That's right.
Coming from Chicago. No, I mean, it was funny because Julie has never been a big Valentine's Day person anyway. She literally her this wasn't just like me like being some dude,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
It was literally a idea from both of us. She wanted to go to the place where there was the least amount of people, and I found it. You saw that picture?
Oh yeah, that was dead.
There was literally not a single person on a single bench.
It's true,
because we sit on benches in hot dogs places, right?
Again,
we don't sit in chairs or booths.
The romance is oozing.
I know, right? All it was missing was a big old bouquet of flowers.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
well, I mean, for Karen and me, we decide, we're not going out on Valentine's Day because it's packed. All the romantic spots, they're packed.
Right.
Your food comes out late. Everyone's, frazzled and, get caught up with all that craziness.
But I was giving you the business in that you're still doing Valentine's Day. It's not like you're like, I'm taking a stand.
I'm not an idiot, Tom.
I get it, dude.
Yeah.
Some of it, I mean, after, what is it now? I got married in 2005.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe she's over it.
We're going on year 6. So
she's over it. She doesn't care.
We're still in the honeymoon phase.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know.
Yeah,
it is. Yes.
Very good. All right. Well, cool. We got some news for today, or?
Yeah. So, I came across this article here from CNBC. So it says that this $2,000 expense could blindside happy home buyers.
Ooh.
So that caught my attention.
All right. What does that mean?
What could this be?
Yes.
And what it says is that, so prospective homeowners, generally, they're aware of what it costs to pay down their mortgage and, their PITI, right? So
what their payment's going to be.
Right. They know what
month.
yeah, exactly. Because that's what, as lenders, we talk about it all, ad nauseum, right? So what is your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance? And HOA. But what people don't apparently factor in is the upkeep, the maintenance of the home.
That's a little thing.
Yeah, just a little bit, a little thing. And they said on average, it's about $2,000 a year or 1% of the mortgage.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, here's another, or 1% of the purchase price.
Right.
Now, here's the other thing. If you live in LA, 1%, that could be $10,000 if you're buying in $1 million place.
Easily.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it says about 6 in 10 homeowners they use at least one maintenance provider on a reoccurring basis.
Right.
Right. So if you have a pool, you've got a pool. You know, you've got the expense to upkeep.
A gardener.
A gardener, exactly. And then you get into landscaping. That's another big.
Even pest. Like
pest
pest control and things like that.
Yeah. So these are things you have to be on the lookout for.
And a lot of folks don't take into consideration when they're making their plans. They say, okay, here's my. And by the way, there are all sorts of agents out there.
Yep.
They're just like, let's get them out there. Let's get them out looking for houses. No, that's your nut. Let's go. Because all they really care about is getting that deal done and moving on instead of the holistic approach towards, listen, have you really. I've spoken about this on previous podcasts where I've had clients where they go, do you think I should get this? And I go to them, well, I'm the last person you should be asking that because you guys know what if you are pushing yourselves to go someplace. By the way, I think it's not a bad idea to go someplace that you're necessarily a little bit uncomfortable. Like sometimes it's good to push yourself. That's fine.
Yeah.
But what your nut is. You know what you can and can't do with your money coming in.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so don't ask me.
Right. Well, I mean, most realtors and most lenders, they only care about what you qualify for. Right. Exactly. Not what you can afford.
Right.
And, certainly if if they ask me for my opinion, what can I afford? I tell them the difference between the two. Right. Right. And I always tell them to, talk to your CPA, talk to your financial advisor.
Right.
We shouldn't be just some friends.
You should be talking to a lot of folks and getting an idea from all of them what the big picture is.
Yeah, but this is a good reminder because when
I didn't expect it to be. You hear 10,000, and of course, having paid bills for the last whatever years that I've had my house,
right?
You go, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're renting, and if you're renting from either you're renting a house or you're renting a condo, the company pays for it, right?
Right.
So they care for the flowers and the upkeep and the maintenance, and that's all built into your rent.
HOA, right?
Well, not just your HOA,
but
your rent.
Oh,
I'm talking about if you're a renter.
Oh, your renter. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah. So that's part of being a tenant.
Right.
Right. So all that stuff.
But my point
care of.
is valid though about the HOA, and that basically, generally speaking, you're going to know that going in. And
that is correct,
and
that does factor into your overall, in your debt.
The care of
ratio.
The building and the thing.
Well, that yes, but I'm saying, we do count that against.
You're figuring that out.
That number when we look at the debt side,
right?
So we look at PITI plus HOA,
right?
If it's a condo.
So if you're going into a condo, you might have a better idea than someone who's going into just a single family residence.
Correct. So, exactly.
So definitely leave yourself some space on both sides to make sure that you're taken care of.
Yeah. All right. Or, you'll have a really crappy lawn and nasty ass pool.
I have a really crappy lawn and it has nothing to do with that. I'm just terrible.
And a nasty pool.
And I don't have a pool, but it would be probably pretty nasty too. I've got a brown thumb, so it's not like my gardener, he comes once a week and, blows the dirt around from one side of the yard to the other, so
nice.
It's not. Yeah, it's not pretty. But all right. Well, anything else?
No, I think it's good.
All right, cool. Yep. Well, we're here with Dina Newman of Organizing Concepts and Designs. She's a whiz when it comes to decluttering homes and organizing spaces. She also does estate sales and works with folks that are moving, to get them, all prepped and ready, and then helps them unpack once they get there. So she's basically a wealth of knowledge for folks who want to get all their crap together. So we're glad to have her here. Welcome, Dina. I appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we asked this question of every single person the first time they're on the podcast. Where the hell have you been and how the hell did you get here?
Wow. I've been here for 8 years.
Okay.
In this profession for 8 years.
Wow. Okay.
And I got here in a roundabout way through the legal profession, believe it or not.
Tell me about that.
So
organizing attorneys?
Yeah. Well, sort of.
You should see my wife's office. You would understand what that means. I mean, it's.
You've got to be, especially with the deadlines that attorneys face, you've got to be super organized.
Right.
You got to deal with deadlines and crazy stuff like that, and filing and systems and paperwork. And so I started 30 years ago in the legal industry and loved what I was doing. I had no intention of doing anything else. Yeah. And, life has a way of
it has other plans, right?
And so I kind of got detoured and found myself thinking, what do I want to do when I grow up? And actually didn't come up with this myself. It was somebody else's idea that I check out doing this organizing thing for my living, for a profession.
Right.
And I thought that was crazy. Like, I didn't know that people were doing it.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't know that you can make a living doing it.
Yeah. Now, did you just assume that people, people clean up after themselves or they do their own? I mean,
because I knew through my background, and also I'm a very highly organized person at my home, in my life. And so I knew that people weren't as organized as I was.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how rampant it really was.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many different ways people could be disorganized.
Right.
So I went to a couple of meetings. There's an association for people that do organizing. It's called NAPO. It's the National Association of Professional Organizers.
Mm-hmm.
Went to a meeting, and they were my people.
It was like, I found my pack.
Yeah. So, and they assured me that you could actually do this for a living, and that there was plenty of business out there for people like me who wanted to help others.
Right.
And that's how it began.
Yeah.
And I started out just organizing.
Yeah.
People, homes, whatever. And I started to grow. So, I decided not to limit myself.
Right.
And
what do you mean by that?
Well, so there's different kinds of organizing. There are some people that just do photo organizing. That's it. That's all they do.
Right.
They scan pictures, they make photo albums,
like specific,
they digitize it. Photos.
okay.
That's all they deal with.
Right.
And then there are some people that are that specialize in paper organizing, filing systems.
Right.
Paper management, stuff like that. There are
Right.
people that actually specialize in niche markets.
Right.
I was more of a generalist. I was more of, I could go into your house and do anything, or I can go into your office and make it more efficient, more productive, more accessible.
Right.
And because of my legal background, there was just nothing I couldn't do in an office. So I expanded to there, and then I thought, well, all these people that are calling me in are doing some kind of move. They're moving in, they're moving out, they're downsizing, and so I started to do that.
Right.
I started incorporating relocations into my work.
Right.
And then,
what do you think the predominance of your business is? Do you think it's people moving, or do you think it's people just like calling out of nowhere saying, "My house is a mess"?
I think there's not one. I think there's two. I think it's 50-50 really.
Okay.
I think for me, my people are mostly residential people who, after working with me for a while, realize that I can help them in their offices.
Okay, got it.
That's not how they come to me. They come to me through the home.
Right.
And the second thing is the relocations, because they're realizing that they're moving,
right,
and the prospect of that is daunting and stressful and completely overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny in terms of like what I experience when I work with clients who are selling, and by the way, everybody kind of thinks about it. It's like, oh, the house is sold, so now I need to pack up and go. For sellers nowadays, if they really want to get the top dollar, they're doing staging ahead of time.
Absolutely.
And so they're doing a big portion of their packing beforehand.
Exactly.
And how do you work with, how do you work with that?
So what they do is usually we're called in by, it's a referral of some sort,
right,
typically from a realtor, broker, who call me and say, my client is stuck, they need to move, but they don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
So we kind of go and we meet with them, and first we really say, before you could even put this house on the market, we've got to declutter here.
Right.
Even if it's an extremely highly organized person or family, it still has to be staged.
Right.
So we're not the people that are going to come in and, bring in all kinds of furniture and accessories.
Because, that's the thing, is that I think when people hear the word staging, they're like thinking, oh, they're going to bring in furniture, they're going to bring in paintings, they're going to do it. I'd say 80 to 90% is just getting rid of the crap that's already there.
That's exactly right. The other kind of staging where they're spending thousands of dollars to bring in stuff, that's usually an empty home.
Right.
What I do is I'm going into a home that's lived in. And so what I'm doing is I'm going in and taking the personal items off the shelves, off the walls, off the countertops. I'm putting things away. I need to, make sure that the prospective buyer who's walking through the house is going to be able to see the closets, the depth, the height. They want to see a space that they can live in. So they want to kind of see if this house is going to fit their stuff.
Right.
So, and by taking away the personal items, it allows those prospective buyers to kind of visualize themselves in this home.
Right. But on the other side of that coin, you're kind of taking away what the person loved about their house, right? That kind of making it their own. And that's a kind of an emotional kind of experience for them sometimes, isn't it?
It's all emotional, yes. And the thing is, we tell them when we go in, you have to anticipate that when I start working with you, that you're in moving mode.
Right.
It's not going to be as comfortable as it's been because, I might put your toaster away. You may have to take it out every time you want toast until the house is in escrow.
Right. Yeah, it might be inconvenient, but that's what we got to do.
Sometimes you work with celebrity clients and there's personal pictures on the wall and people get real interested in the celebrity, not in the house.
Right.
So whether you're a celebrity or not, I'm taking those personal pictures off the walls. We don't want them to know who you are and what you do.
Right.
It's nobody's business. It's private.
Right.
And so we depersonalize the house.
Yeah.
Somebody has to see themselves in your house. So it can't be about your lavish taste.
Right.
It's not about that. It's
right.
about simplifying.
Right. And it's so much about, it's not how you see your home. It's how you want the house to be seen.
Correct. And it's there are statistics out there, and I don't know the exact numbers, but you could look them up. But it does say that if you are working with somebody who's staging your house and making it so that the clutter goes away and the pictures come down and what have you, that your house will bring in more money.
Yeah, it's worth the money you invest in it.
$100,000 or more.
Absolutely.
So, we are not only decluttering spaces like that, but there are times when I'll actually say, you know what, we need to remove this couch. This lamp has to go, and we'll pack them up and we'll get them into a garage or other temporary storage until the house is sold. So we do everything from the pictures to the toasters to the couches if need be.
Yeah.
To make that, we want to make the space look large and bright and airy and accessible.
Well, and it's a surprise, when people walk into a house, they don't want it to feel like it's claustrophobic.
Exactly.
They want to feel like there's open spaces. And it's strange how literally moving a couch out or moving a table out can open a room up to the point where it feels like it's got an extra 100 square feet or something.
And it's interesting because when you do it, people will initially be a little apprehensive about letting you do that.
Yeah.
But I walk in and basically ask permission to do it in one area. And
oh, really? So you start
small.
You kind of like taking in small bites.
You have to. You just have to break it down because you don't want to. They're already overwhelmed. Yeah. They're already apprehensive.
Oh my God, the entire process is overwhelming to begin with.
So we show them what we could do with one small space just so that the trust factor.
Right.
And then when we do it, they're usually, why didn't I think of that 15 years ago? Or, oh my God, why weren't you available 10 years ago when I was trying to figure out what to do with this space?
Right.
I wish I would have known.
I wish I had a dime for every single time that I've gone and I've done pictures of a listing, and then I show the sellers and they go, all right, I'll take it. Because literally they're like, I never knew that my house could look like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's
another perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was kind of curious about is that you were, when we first had one of our first conversations was when you were saying that about the privacy of folks, and you were just mentioning it now with the people who have the pictures up on their walls. You take great care in terms of privacy because you're inside everybody's personal belongings and stuff like that, and people get very intense about that.
And it's, we're moving things. So we're moving their stuff. So we're in their drawers and their closets and their cupboards and their most private places.
You're kind of like priests.
And, and one of the things that, I really am firm about is confidentiality. In my contract is a confidentiality clause to uphold my client's confidentiality.
Right.
If they don't tell somebody that we're working with them, then nobody will know.
Right.
It's up to them to disclose that.
Right.
There was a time when I used to have a magnet advertising on my car. And I realized, you know what? I shouldn't do this because as I'm pulling up to their house and I'm in their house, people might see that they're working with an organizer.
Wow, that's an interesting
I kind of
idea.
removed those from my car. And it's just something that I don't do.
Yeah. So do you, what do you consider is when should the process, let's start with someone who's moving out. Okay. Right. And like we said, before it gets listed and all that kind of, what do you think when does the process start, and how does the process start for that? Like, what's the timeline that you see? And very, you know what I'm saying, in the kind of very logistic kind of way.
Right. So if somebody is deciding that they might want to sell their house, they should start when they decide that they might want to sell their house.
Yeah, it's that soon.
So as soon as possible, because time gets away from you.
Yeah.
I have people that call me, 4 days, I'm moving in 4 days, can you help me? And I'm like, well, didn't you know this 30, 60, 90 days ago? Yeah, I thought maybe I could handle it myself, and I was trying, and they're coming, the movers are coming in 4 days.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. I say give yourself as much time as possible, and the reason why is because life happens.
Yeah.
People get sick, people go on vacation. Time frames don't always work out well, and there's a lot to do when you're moving. As I said, it is an overwhelming undertaking.
Right.
So, there's a lot to deal with, especially if you need repairs in the house.
Right.
Especially if you have children.
Yeah.
If you are taking care of somebody, your parents or somebody.
Right.
Just life gets in the way. So I recommend starting as soon as you've made that decision.
Right.
Because I'd rather have you have a month of nothing to do than a month of craziness.
Right.
And I find that, the more time, the less stress.
Sure. And it's such common sense, I think, you would think. But I mean, like you say, things like everybody kind of goes through these kind of processes, and it's kind of like when the things get out of their hands, then all of a sudden it's like, you got to help me.
Once they get me in, I should say, because I work with a lot of people, they realize just how much work is entailed in this, because it's not just going through the house.
Right.
The stuff has to go from point A to point B.
And that's what was going to lead me to my next kind of line of questions here is what happens. I'm assuming when they bring you in, you're not just thinking about this house. You're thinking about the load in at the new place, correct?
Not initially.
Oh, really?
My initial thing is, how am I getting this stuff out of here? So it's not just, okay, so, you're walking in and this woman says, your client says, I have a whole kitchen, and where I'm going, there is no kitchen. There's a kitchenette. So we have to figure out a way to dispose of and or distribute the contents of that area. So it's a kitchen, right?
Right. Are
we donating it? Are we tossing it? Are we selling it? Are we giving it to people? Do those people live locally? Do we have to ship it? What are we doing with all this stuff? And then when we figure out what to do with it, pursuant to the client's desires, we have to make that happen.
Right.
So we have to facilitate that entire process. That means scheduling donation pickups and or shipping and or crating and there's a timeline, because escrow will close eventually, right?
Right.
So you have to have
fingers crossed.
Right. You have to have right. That's the goal.
Right.
And so at the end of escrow, that house has to be emptied, and that's my responsibility, is to make sure that there is nothing left in that house at the end of anything.
Right.
So if they're leaving it to me, I'm the one who's doing all of that. Hopefully.
Right.
I mean, they don't have to hire me for all of it. They can hire me for some of it. But once they see the balls rolling, and how many moving pieces there are, they inevitably will hire me and say, just do it. Because they see that we can and we do.
Right.
But, start quickly.
Are you at any point in this process going, okay, I know that the house they're going to has got this, especially if you're taking care of that load in, right? I'm assuming you're taking, and I know that you work very closely with Ted Cotter, and I want to get you guys both together. Ted Cotter was a mover that we had on, I don't know, about episode 50 or something like that, and he's an amazing mover, and you work very closely with him many times.
Yes.
I know how he kind of works. I can't imagine that you guys aren't kind of working in tandem to kind of making sure that things go loading in the same
yes.
kind of
So
way
whether
they go out.
So whether I'm working with Ted or any other mover, because sometimes it's international movers or national movers, we are I'd like to be very closely connected over the job, because there's again a lot of moving pieces, and I like to work a certain way. They might work another way, and we kind of have to have a meeting of the minds. If a client is moving locally and they want me to do the unpacking, I will always go to their new place, and or get a floor plan, so that while we're doing the downsizing / decluttering process, I can say, hey, you know what? this isn't all going to fit. You have to make some decisions about what's going where, what you want to take, what you don't. You have decisions to make. And that's another part of that process, Are we donating it? Are we tossing it? Are we selling it? Are we shipping it? Are we storing it? Where?
What's going on with this?
What's going on with this, And it's not only, we're talking about relocations, right? People moving. But there are also people who are renovating.
Okay.
And so you still have to get that stuff out.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's not only just moving from one place to another. Sometimes it's moving temporarily to another place. Sometimes it's putting everything in storage until the renovation is finished. So it depends on what the client needs and wants. And then we kind of work around their timeline.
Right.
We align ourselves with people like movers and
Sure. Right. What would you say is like your best 3 tips for people who are packing?
Are they packing themselves?
Yes.
They're packing themselves.
Let's say they're packing themselves, just as a hint.
Don't do it.
No, don't. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. 1, 2, and 3.
Get help. If you're doing it yourself,
right. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm sure there's an element of folks, even if you're doing it, they're participating in it in some aspect, right? Or they're preparing it for you.
Depends.
Yeah.
Some people will do it yourselfers and they'll do it all themselves.
Right.
Some people will do it with us and some people will just have us do it. There's all ends of the spectrum.
Right.
But if they're going to be doing it themselves, I would highly recommend that they know how to do it because you don't want things to break.
Yeah.
You don't want things to go missing.
Right.
You don't want things to come that don't need to come.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So do you have tips for in terms of like what you consider as what would make it to the cut? What would make the cut? What shouldn't make the cut? Do you have
Well, obviously we don't want, when you move, you're moving by weight, really.
Right. That's true.
So if you are not going to use your treadmill,
wait a minute.
Don't take it.
And Dina's looking at me, so she knows damn well that treadmill is not getting used.
If you're using it as a clothing rack, it's an expensive way to go.
Very expensive.
Yeah. So I always say, let us come in and help you first figure out what you don't want.
Right.
So the first process, really, when I meet somebody, it doesn't matter where we're going with the process, is always, let's get rid of what we really don't need.
Yeah.
The true trash. The things that are broken, soiled, stained, broken, missing a piece, things that you are so antiquated that there's just no market for them.
Right.
So let's purge first. Let's see what that feels like. Let's clear up some space.
And that's got to be some. I can only imagine. People are resistant to that for some reason.
Especially when I tell them that I'm going to fill up their trash cans in 10 minutes, and I do mean 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it happens in 10 minutes.
How do you get over that? Usually
they just watch us and they're amazed and then they get it. People 9 times out of 10 really
right.
People
Unless
go,
they're like
oh yeah,
technically hoarders, right?
Right. If they're hoarding, a little bit more difficult. But we don't throw out anything without somebody's permission.
Okay.
Nothing, not a gum wrapper.
Really?
Not a pen. We always get permission, and that can get tedious, but sometimes we set rules. Hey, can I get rid of any magazine that's over 6 months old? Can I get rid of anything that's ripped, soiled? So we'll set some parameters, but I don't know if a pen that I've come across is somebody's great grandmother's pen that they wrote a book on that is precious.
That pen was on the International Space Station.
So you just
something like that.
You don't know, and you don't assume, and you don't do it.
Yeah,
so
right.
everything is with permission, and again, you set some parameters and you get some permissions. But there are people that, have a hard time throwing away anything or donating anything. And so, you have to walk them through it and be patient. And, sometimes people make quick decisions and some people need to tell you a story about the item before they let it go. and some people need to take a picture of it before they let it go.
Oh, interesting.
So
really?
Sometimes it's like the treadmill.
Yeah.
Maybe you kind of really loved it, but you can't take it, so take a picture of it because pictures last longer.
That's I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So so let's we're leaving the house that we're moving out of, and we're going to the new home. What suggestions do you have for loading in? What suggestions for someone who's moving? Like, what should they be prepping? What should they be doing?
Well,
or ways to organize better.
So what I do,
or here's a better way to unpack. What's a better way to unpack?
Well, let's just take it from the old house first.
Okay.
And that is make sure that what you need for the first couple of days
is easily accessible.
Well, yeah, you might want to take that stuff in your car, and you might want that to be the first thing off the truck, so the last thing packed. So your toiletries, anything like meds or things like that, things that you need, you take with you in the car.
Got it.
Wherever, the plane, however you're traveling.
Right.
But the first things that you need, like your bed linens, a towel, the things that you're gonna need for the first night, even a coffee maker sometimes, make that the first thing off the truck, so that if we're there unpacking it, you can be in your house for the first night and it will be a comfortable evening.
Right.
You can make your bed, you can have your coffee in the morning, you could shower. So that's a real good tip.
So why would someone, it seems like, I'm going to just unpack things. Why do you think it's a better choice to go with someone like yourself who is...
Because I think, and I think everybody that's ever used our services will agree, is when you unpack, a lot of people, when they go into a home, their goal is to get as many boxes out of the house as possible.
Oh, yeah.
As quickly as possible.
Right.
So that doesn't necessarily lend itself to organizing. When we unpack your house, we're making sure that your new home is going to be functional, accessible, and it's going to look great. And it's going to be done the right way. So we're not unpacking and shoving things into closets and cupboards and cabinets to get rid of the boxes.
Right.
We will get rid of the boxes for you as well.
Okay.
Which is an added, it's just an added service.
Bonus.
Yeah.
Right.
But, we're going to set up your house as it always should have been in your last house. Everything is going to be where it should have been.
Right.
It's going to make sense so that anybody in the house doesn't have to say, hey, where's the coffee mugs?
Yeah.
They're going to be where the coffee mugs should be, which is going to be right above the coffee maker.
Right.
And if they don't fit, we'll move shelves around. And if they don't fit, we'll give you suggestions at the end of the day as to what you need to make that area more accessible. And we'll send you an email with links of products that we suggest to keep you organized.
Like what are those? Give me an idea on some of those.
For a pantry, we might suggest certain kinds of bins. Bins aren't the end all be all, but they're helpful to categorize in the pantry. We might suggest an over-the-door organizer if there's not a lot of closet space. We might say something as simple as you need a ladder, a step ladder, a lightweight step ladder in this area. Shelving units, freestanding shelving units in the garage. We might request, say you need hooks in the garage to hang bicycles to get them off the floor so you could park a car in the garage. So we come up with a slew, of suggestions.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that kind of stuff. Right.
And we'll either buy them for you and come back and install. Absolutely. Or we'll give you the links and you can order them online yourself. And
Ron, you have something?
Yeah. So, we were talking about Valentine's Day. So, one of the things that it was really funny when Karen and I, when we were engaged, we were living in sin for a little, couple months. So Karen was moving from Dallas. Right. And, we were moving into our new place in Westwood, and Karen hadn't seen the place. Right. So she did, sight unseen, and, had massive, it had great closets. But it was 3 stories, and all of her stuff, right, from Texas, I tried to take pictures and diagrams and drew them and sent them, texted all this stuff. And, it was really funny. The first night, I was there by myself when I first moved in, and I have my 20 hats, right? So I have all these baseball caps. And I put them in the closet, and I basically staged them, right? And to this day, Karen calls it my hat collection because we come from 2 different worlds,
of course,
right? So couples have different, they're different types of people. So for me, I am not mechanically inclined. I don't fix things. I'm not a handy guy. And I also, it's not the easiest thing for me to, take a square peg and the round hole, that whole thing. Right. So Karen is incredibly handy, but she's also, I don't know if there's a euphemism for the word OCD, but she's your people, right?
Well,
so
that happens to be the name of my company.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Right.
There you go.
See?
Yeah.
Not to be a plug, but But what's funny is, so for me, like if I'm trying to, first of all, we have a height difference. Right. So that's number one. So, Karen's 5'6", I'm 6'2", right? So we've got a height difference. And we're also, I'm bigger, right? So, I'm like a, 200 pounder. She's, less. Right. So, I'm trying to fit in certain places in the house and I could barely squeeze. It was really funny last night. So, we're trying to grab a nice bottle of wine. And in order to access our wine fridge, there is a chair that is sitting next to the wine rack. That is like right in front of that is like a longer chair for our table, and then there's this wooden wine box underneath it. So I'm like trying to move things, and I'm like, I was so frazzled and sweating and the whole thing, and finally I'm like, I'm stuck. Like, how do I get out? But Karen's, that's the way, she has a system for everything. So how do you counsel couples that come from different backgrounds,
melding their two systems,
and melding the two systems?
It's a great question. We deal with this a lot, marriages, divorces, what to take, what to leave, what
coming together and going apart.
Yeah, it's both. And so we have to take all that into consideration. Height differences, again, it's all about accessibility, right? There are people out there that, like me, that are height challenged and can't reach high places. So, the things that I don't use a whole lot are really high up because I don't need them a lot. But we do take that into consideration because accessibility is one of the main functions of using an organizer, main reason. And so, what I tell couples moving in together and kind of meshing households is our services help you because we're like a third, unbiased party who, we're not attached to your stuff and we don't want your stuff, but we will try to mesh the two households so that
you're like an organizational therapist.
Yeah. So that they'll look good. Mm-hmm. And we might suggest, maybe leave the bachelor chair home. Maybe donate it. Maybe it's time to donate.
What's wrong with a wagon wheel table?
And your once girlfriend's pink sheets are no longer something that you want to have in your bedroom. So we kind of act as mediator and help you figure out again what to toss, what to donate, and what to give away, because you got to be fair to all parties. And some people just go into an empty slate, which is your new home, and have no clue as to where to put things. So they'll just put things wherever, just put the couch there and put that there, and then they got a mishmash. So we have a very good eye, and we'll help people, like I said, stage it so that it looks great.
What's funny? Oh, sorry, Tom. So,
go ahead.
So one of the things that is kind of, it's pretty, kind of a genius compromise is the fact that, so Karen has all these magazines, right? And many are past 6 months. Right. But there's good articles. There's, there's recipes. There's all these different things. So we actually use Pinterest.
There you go.
Right. So we'll,
it's a good option.
Take the fish recipe or the cocktail recipe. And I mean,
or take a picture.
Or
email it to yourself, or rip it out and put it in a folder that you'll probably never use. But that's an option.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not my favorite option, but it is an option. And everybody works differently. So what might work for me might not work for you. So that's a challenge. You have to work with everybody's personalities,
So in terms of that kind of the melding of the two, people, you covered really well. Have you ever had to really play referee for people who are splitting up?
Oh, I have a horror story.
Oh, please,
you
please.
Want to hear a horror story?
Oh, please.
It's really a
this is gonna be good,
bad
folks.
story, but it's heartbreaking. We were hired by the mother of a young man who was in recovery.
Okay.
And the couple was splitting up. So the mother of the husband called us and said, hey, my son can't really help you out here, so I'm helping him out. Could you go in and pack his stuff and just put it into storage? They're splitting up and he doesn't know where he's going yet. So we went and we did that. And while we were doing his, the future ex-wife thought our services were great and said, hey, can you do that for me too? So he said, yeah, let us finish this and we'll bring on some more people and we'll get you situated too. And so we did just that. We helped them pack and discard whatever. And the night before the move, which by the way was with Ted, we got a phone call that this young man, this handsome, successful young man, had committed suicide.
Oh no!
Because he did not want to move out of this house, and he did not want to get divorced.
No! Wow!
Yes, and we had to do the move because escrow was closing that day. So Ted's guys and my amazing team figured out a way to get this job done. It was definitely a difficult situation. It was emotional and horrible. And there was detectives and police and there was everybody, and we still had to get the job done. So we got his stuff into storage.
Okay.
We got the wife moved and we unpacked her, and this all happened in, one day.
Wow.
So it was
now,
insane.
Did he do it in the house?
No, he did not.
Oh,
he did not.
Well, I would have screwed up the escrow.
But it was horrible. And and the new owners didn't know anything of this.
Right.
Didn't need to know. What they needed to know was that their house was going to be empty at 3:00.
Yeah.
That's all they really cared about, and that's all they knew.
Yeah.
So I had to make that happen.
Right.
The wheels had to keep turning.
Yeah.
And so we experienced crazy stuff like that a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine you do.
I mean,
well, and I think that folks don't realize how many home transactions are usually because something like that is happening. It's like someone's passing. Most people, when they get into a home, unless they're kind of going up to the next bigger house or something like that, there's something going on in that. It's a transition of some sort. It's someone's passed away or someone is,
So another one crazy story, just.
Yeah, please.
And with my crazy stories, but
we love the crazy. Don't stop with the crazy stories.
Hired by a client who lived up north to sell. She was selling her house. She was the owner. She lived in San Francisco. Her house was in Inglewood, and she was going to sell it. And she called us, and she says, "You know what? This is going to be on hold for a little while because my brother's living in there, and he's ill, and he really can't move. So we're just going to hold off for a little bit." She calls me about 6 weeks later and said, the house needs to get cleared. My brother passed away. I said, I'm so sorry for your loss. What do we need to know to clear the house? Do you want everything donated? Do you want it sold? What do you want? She goes, well, unfortunately, my brother passed in the house, and his body wasn't found for 5 days.
Oh.
And so at the end of those 5 days, the house was filled with maggots and other lovely
my Lord.
insects and what have you. So anything that potentially could have been sold and or donated was now a complete clear. So we had to clear that house.
Oh my gosh.
And so we did it.
Wow.
Yep, carpeting it all, and hazmat suits and
you did that with the hazmat suits and everything.
We did it all. Now we work with a company that specializes.
I've heard about there's certain companies out there that if there's crime scenes or something like that.
And obviously it's not a crime scene, but it's similar to.
No, of course.
You have to treat it the same way.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we might not necessarily be doing it hands-on by ourselves, but we'll bring in the team that does.
Yeah.
So because of what we do, as you can imagine, like you just heard, we work with people like moving companies, shredding companies, donation companies, nonprofits that will pick up donations, cleaning companies, contractors sometimes because the houses have to be fixed up. So we have to have an array of resources that we can call in on any given day at any given moment. And thankfully, through doing this for many years, I have those resources. So they make my job doable.
Right.
I have a company that I work with on a daily basis that hauls trash for me.
Yeah.
And they're amazing.
Right.
So I couldn't do what I do without all of these other resources.
Right.
So,
speaking of kind of emotional circumstances like those, right?
Yeah.
I'm a senior real estate specialist, and I think that's one of the more kind of crazy emotional experiences is downsizing someone who's getting older, a senior. Yeah. And you do a lot of that work, don't you?
Yeah, it's hard.
Tell me a little bit about that.
But it doesn't always have to be hard.
No.
It is hard.
Right.
Because sometimes they're alone and their loved one has passed on because they're elderly or whatever. And sometimes they're a couple, but they physically can't do it. But, My greatest success story is last year. Really, it was we helped a woman who was 83 years old, and she moved because she wanted to, not because she had to. She was living in a house with 3 stories. She was 83 and probably shouldn't be running up and downstairs,
sure.
At 83.
Right.
So she decided to move closer to family, locally, but closer to family. And it was a 6-month process. And the only reason it was 6 months is because we had 6 months.
Okay.
We had the time. She started early. She knew she wanted to sell.
Is that kind of like your perfect kind of...
Perfect client.
Yeah.
Because we helped her. We went through the house and we didn't do it in a crazy fast timeline. We had 6 months before. But she didn't even put the house on the market until 3 months after we were working together.
That's got to be such a weird process to literally be in a house for like 50 years and then like watch someone in 2 days kind of just, okay, it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be very disturbing.
Here's 2 interesting things I found out about this woman who she was a delight to work with, but she couldn't have an estate sale, but she wanted to sell stuff. So we facilitated that. We got a lot of money for her possessions, but she lived in the house for 50 years. When we unearthed some of the items in her house, we actually found at the back of her linen closet were engagement gifts that were never opened.
Oh my
goodness. So we're talking gifts that were sitting there for 50 plus years.
In their boxes?
In their boxes from Bullock's Wilshire and Robinson's May and places that don't exist anymore. In their boxes with the notes. So she had never sent thank you notes to these people because she didn't know what she got or who they were from. And then, I guess over the years, her husband would put things in the attic that she didn't know were up there.
Oh, wow.
So when we cleared out the attic, everything that we brought down was a complete surprise, a good surprise,
Right.
So it's both happy and sad.
Sure.
There's good emotions, there's some sad times.
But she also had during that 6 months, and I think this would be a good thing, time to grieve.
Totally.
Time to let go.
On the day of the move, when she drove away from the house, she never looked back.
Great.
I said to her, do you want me to take a picture of the house? She goes, no, I'm done.
I did it.
She was ready to go.
Yeah.
She did it on her terms, in her time. Nobody made that decision because she was unable to do anything. She made the decision before she was unable to.
Right.
To move and downsize herself. And it was a lot of work. It was 6-7 truckfuls of trash. It was 6-7 trucks of donations.
Wow.
It was 6 months, literally twice a week. Of course, it was only 4 hours, because everybody has
limits. Well, and that's what's going to be my next question is that for folks who are in that kind of age range and all that, there must be a different kind of approach that you take.
We have a minimum of hours that we like to work because getting on a freeway in LA is not pleasant unless if we're coming for a while.
Yeah, right.
So 4 hours is the minimum. If there's some kind of inability or disability or something that we can't work those 4 hours, we'll work with the client. But we get a lot done in 4 hours, and that's the goal.
Yeah.
So we try to work around people's schedules. We work 24/7. So we work weekends, evenings, days, nights. It doesn't matter. We have somebody to cover it. And, like I said, the reason we're starting 6 months early is doctor's appointments, mahjong games, family visits, vacations. We work around it all to make it happen. So we go back to the first question is, when do you start?
Yeah.
You start ASAP.
Right.
So that
Is there anything else in terms of when you're dealing with a senior that's any different?
Yeah, with seniors more than any other age group is the financial aspect.
Right.
They're worried about money. Even if they have plenty of it, they're worried about spending it.
Right.
The prices, doesn't matter how little or how much, it's all astronomical to them.
Right.
So that's a little bit of a challenge to work around.
Yeah.
But there are so many people out there who physically can't do it. And somehow, some way, it's got to get done.
Yeah.
So there are extenuating circumstances. And this is one of the things that probably my company is probably one of the only ones that does this, is if the house must be sold, and there's a guarantee that the house is going to be sold, I will be part of the escrow and I'll accept payment.
Got it.
I'll defer payment until escrow closes.
Got it.
So that we can get the job done, because if they're not seeing the money go out of their pocket, they're more inclined to cooperate and get this done.
If you excuse me, I want to take a little moment here to kind of explain to everybody out there what Dina's talking about here. So in terms of look, there are certain fees and costs that, you're going to incur as you go through the process of selling your home. And basically there are some folks who, not all, actually most don't, will basically wait until all the ledgers are kind of zeroed out and take their cut from that, basically. And that's something that can help people who are maybe a little cash poor or something like that.
Exactly.
In order to get, it's coming out of the profits of the home. It's not coming out of your pocket, right out of, your wallet.
And also, one of the added benefits of working with a company like mine is that because we do estate sales and we help people sell items.
Talk a little bit of what is an estate sale, just so folks can kind of understand what that is. And
I will address that. But I want to go back to saying
go for
the seniors.
Yeah.
If they know that we can do an estate sale or sell off their items and make them some money, we're offsetting our costs by doing that.
Okay.
So the woman that I was just telling you about who downsized, she paid me somewhere between $13,000 and $15,000 for the entire job, which was an enormous undertaking.
Yeah.
And made 10. So
through the money from the estate sale. Oh, got it.
Not so bad.
Got it. Yeah.
And don't forget, she was not only decluttering and downsizing, she was selling, and we did the move and we unpacked her. So
it's a great way. Estate sales can be a great way to offset the expenses.
Right. So we do that for them too. And of course, if there's not enough value and the estate sale is not a possibility, we will at least try to find an item or two or three or hopefully many more to either put into a consignment store or an auction house or, find a buyer, So
if you could just kind of go through the basic steps of an estate sale, like what how does it start? How do you usually sell things?
So the first thing is really evaluating if indeed there is enough value for an estate sale, and estate sale companies have all different kinds of thresholds.
Right.
So for my particular company, I won't do an estate sale unless there's at least $25,000 in value, and that's at a very wholesale value level.
Right.
In other words, it's secondhand. Everything in the house is secondhand. So when I say $25,000, I'm talking fair market value.
Right.
And we determine that, not the client. And that's because most clients think that
it's an inflated idea.
Valuable.
Yeah, right.
Right. Or it's been passed down through the generations, so it's got value.
It doesn't matter if Uncle Henry gave it to you in 1820. It's,
Exactly.
Right.
So we determine the value, and so if it's $25,000 or more and the people want to have an estate sale, we will facilitate that process and get their item sold. Right. It's usually when someone has passed on, because it's an estate. It's everything from the Tupperware and the picture frames to the appliances to the artwork to the stuff in the garage. It's everything. So if someone's still living, chances are that's not really going to happen unless they're moving out of the country or moving out of state or going from a 3,000 square foot house into a one bedroom,
Yeah.
So if the estate sale is not possible, there's other ways of doing this. There's virtual estate sales. Mm-hmm. Which is an option in today's world, which wasn't available many years ago.
Right.
So if you're living in a condo or a townhouse or a gated community, you can go virtual, which is basically an estate sale, but it's held online.
Got it. Ron, you had something?
Yeah. So, another market, I think that, basically, in the corporate relo space, right? Corporate relocation, where you have a senior executive that, they're currently living in Nashville, Tennessee, and they're moving to LA, right? And usually what happens if they have a family, if they need to be in Los Angeles in 2 months, well, they may not be able to sell the home in that amount of time frame. So now you have one spouse who stayed behind, you have another one that's in Los Angeles, and, depending on how market conditions are, it could take a while. It could take 6 months. Right. So how would you help in that particular transaction, knowing that one party's in Nashville where it's one-sided, and then you have another one that's in Los Angeles, and do you work with another agent, another personal organizer in Nashville, or do you actually go?
That's up to the client. There are professional organizers all around the world. I believe there's something like 45 to 100 people worldwide that are doing this, and in countries that you don't even know the names of. So there are people everywhere, and if that's what the client wanted, I would just have them go to the NAPO website and find somebody in their location. there are clients that I've been working with for years that only want me. So in a couple of months, I'll be going to Hawaii to close down a client's house.
Must be tough, Dina.
Yeah, I know. It's
How
hard.
terrible
It's
for you.
a tough world. But it's a lot of work. There's not going to be a whole
Dina,
lot of time
you're
to
selling it,
play.
but I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that at all.
Yeah. So, I'm going to go there. I'm going to close down their house. They're selling properties pretty much, locally and in Hawaii, and they're eventually going to move to another country. So they want me. So I will go and do that. It's up to them. It's up to their budget. It's up to their timeline. I might not be available to do that, but we try to work it out.
But could you quarterback it and then contract
Absolutely.
with them? So if they're like, we want you, but we need someone on site in Tennessee, and you're obviously the person in LA.
Is it something that could be potentially done remotely?
Yes. And by the way, I can do that, and I do that on occasion, but there are companies that do exactly that basically are the quarterbacks for multiple moves. And so they'll have somebody in Tennessee, and then they'll coordinate the person in LA to receive the stuff that's coming. And yeah, there are companies, and I work with those companies. They hire me to do that on the LA side. And sometimes if I'm doing a long distance move, I'll be the quarterback and have somebody else on the other end if I don't want to go or if I can't go. So like I have people in New York, I have people in Palm Springs, I have people in Las Vegas. So there's, and usually from my association, because I know that they're trusted. I know that they're ethical. They're bound by the NAPA Code of Ethics. And so hopefully they're insured. Otherwise they don't work with me. That's big, by the way. Is that we're not a licensed industry yet, and I'm sure someday they will.
And that
be.
was going to kind of, we're kind of pulling into the station here, and I just want to one last kind of final thing is if someone is in Nevada or somebody's in Missouri or whatever, what should they be looking for in an organizer? What should they like? What and if they were going to hire one?
Well, if it was me and I was looking for somebody, I would first of all make sure that they were affiliated with an association, because I think that there's education.
at least some sort of guidelines and some sort of
guidelines, education, other people, other resources that they could pull from. I think it's really important to check them online, Yelp or reviews, personal and professional references, and for me, I think it's important. It's imperative that whoever you hire to come into your home, it doesn't matter who, that they're insured, because some occupations aren't licensed or don't require licenses, and ours doesn't. But at the very least, insurance is key.
Liability and workers' comp.
I have everything. I have workers' comp. I have general liability. I have errors and omissions, bonds, everything, because it's just a safety precaution in today's litigious world. Right?
Absolutely.
So those are the things that I would look for. And, of course, most importantly is trust. You want to like and trust the person you're working with, because if it's a move, you're going to likely be working with them very closely. Yeah. So you have to make that sure that you connect, that you understand each other.
Right. And they're also handling your most personal of possessions. Yeah. So would you let that person do that?
Right.
Yeah.
So a personal referral, is always good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, Dina, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Do you, let's get your contact information so folks can contact you if they should need your services.
Website?
By the way, I'm loving, I didn't realize until you said it, that organizing concept design is OCD.
Yes, and there is a reason for that. More on that next time.
Well, okay. Wow. All right. Well, good. Another reason to have her on again. But go ahead and give them your contact information.
So the website is organizingconceptsanddesigns.com, and if you want to email me, info@organizingconceptsanddesigns.com.
Great.
Phone number?
Yeah, go ahead if you want. Yeah.
310-560-5060.
Great. Well, if you guys have a mess like my house is, I'm sure you probably should get on the phone with Dina right now.
I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready. Trust me. Well, that's about it for today. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them for us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Clarified Realty Podcast, all one word. If you have any questions about real estate or you're looking for someone to help you buy or sell a home, remember, I'm actually a licensed real estate agent. I'd love to help you out, so please email me directly at tom@clarifiedrealty.com. Am I okay? What the heck's wrong with me today? tom@clarifiedrealty.com or give me a call at 818-335-7662. Don't be shy, guys. Give me a ring. For more exclusive bonus content and advice between episodes, please check out our website, www.clarifiedrealty.com. Also on our homepage, you'll find links to helpful buyer and seller guides that can give you guys some really great information for starting your home buying or home seller process. So definitely check those out. Go check out our Alexa skill. We are we were ranked top 3 at one point for Alexa skills. So please search the Alexa store for the Clarified Realty Podcast, add our skill to your daily briefing, and get a dose of real estate news and tips every day of the year. Definitely give it a try. It's pretty cool. I'm on Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram as well. My handle for all 3 of those are @Clarified Realty. Please leave feedback and reviews on iTunes or in the comments section on our page. Together, we're stronger, folks. So if you have any questions or ways that we can make this podcast better, please let us know. My amazing theme song, Hey Now, is from the band Wolf. That's Wolf with 2 Fs. And please go check them out and like them on SoundCloud. And just a little fine print here, my brokerage is Keller Williams Encino Sherman Oaks. I'm licensed by the California Bureau of Real Estate, and my license number is 01715353. Ron's is?
Guaranteed rate, NMLS 2611, NMLS ID 558706, California and Texas.
The advice we give is only for properties located in the state of California. For all other states, please contact your local real estate agent or real estate professional. Well, that's about it, Ron. You all good?
Yeah, time to get organized.
Let's get organized. Let's get our crap together.
That's right.
Thanks for coming, everybody. And remember, the greatest thing you can ever do is make someone feel at home. Take care. We'll see you next week.